Hello, hello, hello. I am back. And I am so sorry. If anybody tuned in at 7 o'clock and I wasn't there, I humbly apologize. And I know my husband is probably like, Dawn, it's 10 o'clock. It is. But if anybody knows me, I am not a quitter, and that's probably going to be the death of me. But anyway, Dawn Haley, Windy City, block by block real estate show. I have been away for a couple of months and I am so sorry, but I had to deal with a loss, had to deal with family illness, and then I had to reflect to think about what it is that Dawn Haley wants to do to serve her community. And when I say that, I mean serve. I mean, as a real estate professional, I've been in this business for 30 years, right? And one of the things I'm starting to see is our industry is not understanding you guys do not need us. I mean, you can find your house, go through go through dealing with a company that can connect you with sellers and buyers, and you guys do the transaction without us. I realize that. So, what is it that I need to do to keep myself relevant and to serve you? And that is to know as much as I can to help you make the right decision, whether you're buying or selling. So, with that being said, my, what do you call him? My media and film guy. I want to bring him up. Let's bring him up right now. He was so quick, but I want to. I'm still like missing some things. So if it's not coming out right, guys, it's late. But I wanted to just show you my media guy. Let's bring him back again without any further ado, because it is late, and I and I know that I should have had everything lined up the way it was earlier today. So let's. Oh, there he is. All right, let's bring him back. Yes, my media guy. Mr. Fred Haley. He and I have been traveling. Matter of fact, we saw some interesting things. Where is it? Where is that? We had come across, I want to bring that back. Yeah, I want to bring that back. We came across a pretty bad bridge. It was in Riverdale, and I can't say that the mayor isn't aware of it. I don't know. He may be, but that really isn't his issue. That's really the Illinois Department of Transportation. And if you know any of your loved ones that are traveling down from 138th Street south on Halstead, let them know that there is some dangerous things that's said. Let me see if I can get the other picture in there. Yeah, let's get the other picture. And you see how this road is separating. And I wanted to bring attention to it because of the recent tragedy that happened in, I think it was, where am I? Want to give the right town. Surfside condos in South Florida. Yeah, that was a tragedy, and I know without even going in that building that there were signs and evidence that there was something going on in that building. But we get caught in our everyday lives. We complain to those that we think care, and something like that happens. And my heart goes out to the families that are just decimated because of what happened with that building. And I just hope that those that are in positions can get down a little harder on people whose lives are in their hands in terms of the care of buildings. And it's to it was poor structure in that building, but you have people who are living, with high levels of lead-based paint. You have people living in buildings that are not properly up to code in terms of the what I want to say, the smoke alarms, things of that nature. So yeah, there are people who really don't care. They just get up and they go. But if you're living in a situation like that, please don't just think that it's not your problem, because you could be the next story. And so I just want to get that out. And then I want to bring something. I don't know what I did with my little rooster, but I was showing a house, and it wasn't on the listing that there was a, let's see, is that it? Nope, nope, that's not it. Where'd you go? I wanted to know where you go. It was so funny. Um, I was showing a house. Actually, I showed it twice, and came across. Let's see. That Can I find this little fella? No, I can't find him. Maybe I'll find him a little later. But anyway, I just wanted to say again, I've been away for a little while, but I'm back, and I'm ready to start really learning and telling and showing more about what's going on in our community, because we hear all the bad things that are going on, and granted they're there, but there's good things that are going on in the south suburbs. Even in our travels, as we're taking photographs of different things in the south suburbs, there are some things that are happening, and hopefully it can um, generate interest for those living that wanting to move into the communities, as well as sellers looking to sell. So I wanted to find this doggone red rooster. I can't find out. But anyway, all seriousness aside, I do want to. I think where I want to head in terms of my career, what's little left of it, because at some point in time, Dawn Haley will be retiring, but I'm not seeing that right now. I see still a need for me to be out here and sharing and helping those who are looking to buy and sell, and that brings me to why I want to bring back some of the some of the guests that I've had on my show. I Let me make sure I'm finding it. I want to talk about three things today. I want to talk about one. I had an attorney who happens to be my daughter, Lisa Glenn. She was on my show, and she talked about quick claim and the power of attorney. And oftentimes I get people who come to me and say, "Hey, I got a power of attorney. The property was quick claimed to me," and of course that's not my lane. I just say, you know what? Let me refer you to an attorney to make sure you have all that you need to be in place, so that you're not finding yourself where you can't do what you want to do in transferring title or selling it or keeping it, whatever you want to do. You just want to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row. And then I had another gentleman on from Cross Country Mortgage. And how I met him was I had a seller who had a buyer who wrote a contract, obviously, and went forth getting her mortgage. And I kid you not, everything was going fine. And then all of a sudden, boom, they denied her. Good credit, had down payment, had, just had all the things that was important to get approved. But last minute, they denied her. And so how I met Richard was he does what we call rescue loans. And he'll explain it, but that just basically means that you have people who get denied for whatever reason. And I learned something myself, that it's not discrimination. It's just that each bank, yeah, they have their standard, and if you don't fall within that standard, they're going to say no. And it doesn't mean you can't get approved somewhere else. So I'll let Richard tell you about that. And then, 2022 is coming up, and with COVID, which I do want to say, again, I know we all are still dealing, with the pandemic, and things are happening, and sooner or later, increases are going to be coming at our door. And one of those increases, which I sometimes worries me, is how much of is our real estate taxes going to be going up? So, you know what? I just realized you're not seeing me. So let me see. That's why you're not seeing me. There we go. Um, now you can see me. Now you can see me. That's why. Hey, it's 10 o'clock. But anyway, I'm back. But anyway, I was just saying. Um, what was I saying? I'm sorry. Oh, real estate taxes. Yes. That kind of keeps me concerned because, our taxes in Cook County are already screaming out there off the roof. And anything you can do, anything legally that you can do to appeal your taxes and keep them at a level that it's affordable to you, that you're not looking to unfortunately sell because you can't afford your real estate taxes, because they're almost, if not more than your principal and interest. So I have an attorney that's going to come on, and he's going to talk about what are some of the things that you can do and make sure you're getting your homestead exemptions. Because I sometimes find people that they don't even get the exemptions that they're supposed to get because they didn't know, or something wasn't explained to them in the process of buying a house. So anyway, while we're going for a break, not a commercial break, but a break, I am going to try and find this little uh, rooster that while I was showing the house introduced himself to me. So we're gonna take a break, and when I come back, we're gonna bring on Lisa Glenn from the law office of Lisa Glenn. found him. Yes, like I said, didn't have it in the listing that the neighbor next door is a rooster, but it was just fascinating to me to see an urban rooster. Some of my friends who are gardeners, this they loved it once I said, "Look, let me see." Wow, a rooster. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and, like I said, I want to bring Lisa Glenn from the law office of Lisa Glenn. She's going to tell you real quickly what people need to be concerned about. So I'll be right back. People typically don't know about probate until someone passes away. And that's not the right time to know about probate, correct?
Oh, it's always better to know. It's better to be prepared. I'll just say that. And unfortunately, I've actually had a very recent situation where there's. You also want to make sure your attorney knows what they're doing too, because sometimes people think that they are prepared, and it turns out what their attorney had them do was nothing. helped helped in no way, shape, or form to making sure that their loved one's assets were protected after death. So
Yeah, yeah,
you also got to research your attorneys if you are
yeah.
trying to prepare ahead of time.
And that goes, and of course, I don't put a bad light on any profession, but you want to make sure when you're selecting professionals, that's their area of expertise. You don't want to, deal with an attorney who's pretty much their area of expertise is criminal law, or their focus, and then they tiptoe in other things so that they can at least make add some income into their coffer. So you always want to, as you said, that was an excellent point, Lisa. You really want to make sure that you're whoever you choose to do business with, that's what their focus of law is. So that's a good
Mm.
point. Now the second thought, is it says nearly half of America, and even less than half, have some sort of estate plan. So is that true?
Less than half? Oh yeah. um and it's interesting because I feel like the people who need it the most are the ones that don't have anything set up. It's usually those who don't have a lot going on. They'll do like a quick will or a quick POA, but it's those that actually have things worth protecting
Mm-hmm.
that don't have anything in order. And
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 what?
and, and like you were saying before, it's just so many people don't understand. They don't understand that each state has their own laws. So there's some people who think if they just write something out and sign it, that's all that's needed. That's not how it works in Illinois. Judges are very particular of what needs to be in a will or or a power of attorney.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just people just aren't. A lot of people go to the legal Zoom a little too much, and legal Zoom isn't state specific. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, just like everything else, you Google it and you can get your answer. So
right.
that's not always the case. And I'm glad you did speak a little bit on the different instruments that people think is protecting them, because just in my experience, people think if they have a power of attorney, that's all they need if a person passes away. And your response to that is,
A power of attorney is when someone is living. So a power of attorney expires upon the death of that person. You can't. A power of attorney does not extend beyond the death of that person. I the situation I was saying before, where attorney kind of led a client astray, was that type of situation. They put on the power of attorney that is it's forever and always. And no, that doesn't work in Illinois. Power of attorneys are statutory. There's certain language. You can't go beyond the
yeah.
person's death. The judge is not going to accept that or acknowledge it or anything.
Yeah, and that even goes for another instrument that people use is, okay, I did a quick claim. So if something were to happen to a loved one, then it was quick claim to me, and so I have all the power to do what I need to do with that property. Is that true?
I mean, so it depends. is the answer.
Okay.
Some you want you again. This goes back to making sure you have the right attorney, because some people do quick claims when they don't have the right status to do so. So, for instance, someone can do a quick claim on a property that currently there's a mortgage attached to that property.
Right.
So a person could try to quick claim it to their family, to their maybe their son or their daughter. The mortgage company is going to reverse that, because you can't quick claim piece of property that is still inhabited by a mortgage. You can do it if, let's say, you are married and
Yeah.
you want to make sure that both you and your spouse are on title. You can do it that way, but
Hmm.
that's again goes back to making sure you have the right attorney, because there are some instances where if a quick claim is properly executed and properly recorded, then that property then belongs to whoever you quit claimed it to. There also are situations you have to make sure that the tenancy is correct. So in Illinois, you have joint tenancy, you have tenants in common. If you don't specify that it's a joint tenancy,
Hmm.
Illinois is going to automatically assume that it's tenants in common, which means that once that one person passes, it doesn't automatically transfer to the next person. It transfers to that person who deceased, their heirs. So then that makes it difficult. So again, you got to make sure you're talking with people who know what they're talking about
Right.
to make sure
Right.
you're doing the right thing. Because
Right. Right.
again, in some cases, a quick claim deed will work perfectly fine, but in a lot of cases, it just makes things worse. So
Yeah. Yeah. That was some really, one of the things I wanted to say once I had Lisa as my guest. When I was in real estate class or school, going after my license, their understanding joint tenancy and tenants in common was really hard for me to kind of understand that. So to say to those who are, I would say, if you are looking to buy investment property, you want to make sure that you are joint tenant, because if something were to happen to the other person, then you can continue to float that boat if you choose to do so, and not have families deciding what's going to be best for the heirs, what's going to be best for that property. Now, tenants in common, that is typically what I see most couples doing, so that they can make sure that if anything were to happen to one or the other, then their children will be able to continue the legacy as to determining what will happen to that property. So, it took me a little time, but again, that's not my lane. I let the attorneys explain the best approach for you in having or placing your that property in title, in trust and title and all of that stuff. So that was just good for Lisa to come and talk. She talked about a whole plethora of things. And if you're interested in hearing that, you can always go back and listen to my old podcast. It's called Windy City, uh, Block by Block Real Estate, the Real Estate Show. So you can catch the whole episode in its entirety. So the next person I want to bring to the stage, as they say, is Richard Kimball. And like I said, Richard and I met last year. Actually, we met last year, and I'm looking up. Yes, I want to make sure I'm bringing him up correctly. Richard and I met last year, and it was due to the fact that a client, or not my client, but a buyer, could not get financing. And the one thing that I do want to say, you just never want to have just one egg in the basket, because again, which Richard will explain, and I'll let him do, because he's the expert in this. But you just want to have, when you're dealing with a real estate agent, you want to make sure they got more. If you're going to use the loan officers or mortgage companies that they recommend, which you don't have to, but if you do, you just want to make sure that it's just not one loan officer that they rely on, because then that means you could, if your credit may be a certain way or lower than what the lender would do a mortgage on, then you know you're going to look at getting denied. So I'm going to bring Richard on and let him explain it. See you back in a moment. I met Richard when I had one of my clients had a contract, right? And the buyer attempted to get it through their first lender. And for some reason, whatever that is, she couldn't get it. And so, how I got introduced to Richard was the attorney's office that was handling my client's file. Said, "Hey, I know this guy. If if it can be done, he knows that it can. If he says it can be done, it can get done." And so I'm like, okay, well, you know what? You guys are efficient in this office, so I would imagine efficiency knows efficiency, right? And so anyway, we ended up, the buyer ended up going to you, and you figured out a way to get her approved. But of course, she decided that she didn't want to go forward with it. But the keynote, the key plug out of that is you really did follow up. I think you contacted us right away, even though it was late. You reached out, and and it was like I just felt like, okay, this is the real deal. And so a lot of companies will say we care, but it shows in their action. So I just really had to plug that about you, because that's how I got introduced to you. And a lot of times it is by referral. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that one, but I had to get that out one
No, I
out.
appreciate that. Our branch or our office mission statement is really that we make the lives of our customers, our business partners, and our employees better by what we do every day. And
Hmm.
so, in that speaking, we've got to take care of people. One of the things that we're known for on my team is rescue loans. Now, rescue loans is kind of what you just described.
Right.
Some reason the deal went south somewhere else, you send it to us. 30 years of experience here. We sell directly to Fannie, Freddie, and Jenny. And we don't have, in my industry, there's a term called overlays. It's a really dirty word, but it's
Hmm.
overlays. And what it is FHA will come and say, okay, here's our guidelines. This is how we'll lend. FHA, most people don't know this. FHA will lend down to a credit score of 500. It's crazy. Most people don't know that because most banks or credit
Right.
unions or whoever, they have an overlay, if I can sneak that in the
Yeah,
camera,
yeah, yeah.
overlay.
Overlay.
They have an overlay where they say, hey, we're not going to make any FHA loans under a credit score of 640. Well, that's not what FHA says. FHA says, hey, look, we'll go down to 580, and then if you go below 580, we just want more equity. We want
Hmm.
you, the buyer, to have more skin in the game. So
Right. Right.
we're able to pick up some things and save some things because we're really able to lend the way the guidelines were meant to be.
Right.
And so that's really important part of it on the rescue part of it.
So, did you hear that? If you know, if you or someone you know has been recently denied a mortgage and they were going FHA, um, Richard might be a mortgage company that you may want to give a call to, because you never know. I mean, if it's just like he said, FHA will go as low as 580 or lower if you just got to put more skin in the game. So just like with surgery, you always go for a second opinion. So once you're denied, if the real estate agent that you're working for doesn't have a backup plan in the event that you are denied, then you should take it upon yourself to seek out another mortgage company. And again, I've got two great mortgage companies that I use. Richard Cross Country is one of them, and then I use another one. So, you know, it just you just never know. So you don't. So the point here is you just never give up, because a no may be a no with one mortgage company, but you may get it with another. May get a yes from another country. I mean, another mortgage company. It's late, but like I said, I ain't giving up. I'm doing this show, and if I mess up, I humbly apologize. But anyway, we're gonna take another break. Come on, bring that up. I'm also learning this new. I'm also learning this new system. It's awesome, but it's a learning curve. So anyway, I will, like I said, I want to take a little break, and then when I come back, I want to also, because I noted that I was talking through a very um, a very urgent situation of that bridge in Riverdale, and I want to go back to that because I definitely want to, if anybody knows of anyone that travels through that or is near it, and you want to send out information to the Illinois Department of Transportation to let them know, listen, this could be a potential problem. So I want to come back to that. But let's see. Here we go. We want to restart this. All right, and be back. we are back. I think I might have cut that off a little too soon, but anyway, I'm glad things are moving a little smoother. But yes, I want to bring on next an excerpt from Ryan. I screwed his name up so many times, but Schaefris. I think that's the correct way to say it. He is also a real estate attorney. He does closings, but one of his area of expertise is he does file appeals for many residential homeowners. And his thing is everybody should appeal their real estate taxes, and because what typically happens is the budget is set, and the budget is the budget. And once the budget is set, then whatever your assessment is based on your property, high, low, in between, then that's when you get your bill. And right now, because the the markets have been so robust lately, there's been a good appreciation going up. I'm sorry, it's late. The trajectory, that's the word I'm looking for. The trajectory of home values are going up, so quite naturally, it's going to get you a letter in the mail that says, "Oh, guess what? Your house has been assessed for this now because of what's going on in your community," and then you get shocked. So anyway, so that's why he said everyone should always appeal their taxes. It with his office and most attorneys that do appeals, you don't pay them unless they get you a reduction. So what do you have to lose other than taking some time to appeal your taxes? Now they can't be done all year round. They have to be done at a specific time. So I am going to bring not Richard, but Ryan to the stage. Come on, Ryan. Let me find you. There you are. Unfortunately, in my upsetness, you know what? I really didn't get too upset. My husband even said, Dawn, you're kind of calm. I'm like, all I can do is what I can do in terms of getting this audio back. But at any rate, I lost Ryan's tag where you can get his information. But please, if you are interested, and I can't do it now because if I do it, I'll lose audio. But I'm gonna try to correct this while you guys are listening to Ryan. So I'm gonna bring Ryan on, and hopefully the information that he shares is something that you can share with yourself or with someone else. Be right back.
I've been able to help people with through the past year. A lot of people are looking at their taxes, starting to understand things, and they're asking me a lot of questions. With exemptions in Cook County, the nice thing is you can actually correct them. If you were entitled to a homestead exemption, which is if you own the property where you live, your house, then you're entitled to a homestead exemption. What that is in Cook County is it's a calculation that typically ranges anywhere from $500 to $3,000, frankly, depending on where your property is, and that's based on your local tax rate. Again, if your tax rate is 10%, then you're entitled to a homestead exemption of about $1,000. But those vary wildly throughout Cook County. But the nice part is, if you bought a property and you've lived there for 5 or 6 years, and you look at your bill one day and you realize you're not getting a homestead exemption, you can actually apply for what's called a certificate of error, and you can get that exemption retroactively, where the county will literally just cut you a check, and they'll say, sorry, they didn't know about it, and they'll just issue you a check if you provide them with the appropriate affidavits, copies of your driver's license, etc., that they'll ask you to do. They've even put a really good website out online with the Cook County Assessor. They have an online application where you can docu-sign everything. You can upload a picture of your driver's license, and you can fill out and sign an affidavit and get the certificate of error applied for and refunds issued pretty quickly. It's one of the things the new assessor has done, and it's a great thing.
Is there, a question that I have, because, seniors of course, are always concerned about the senior and the senior freeze.
Hmm.
And is there a specific cap on your income in order to receive the senior citizen and the senior freeze exemption?
So that's a great question. And so the way it works, the first thing is all exemptions are based on essentially there being a homestead exemption. Now, this is the most important thing to note is if you buy a property, the exemptions are based on who lived there on January 1st of the tax year. And again, we pay in arrears. So in 2021, the bill you get in July is calculated based on who lived there on January 1st, 2020. This frustrates a lot of new homeowners because if they bought a vacant property that didn't have an exemption, they don't get it for quite some time because, again, it's January 1st. And if you buy in February of 2021 and the tax bill comes out this year, you're not going to get an exemption or you're not entitled to it. Your seller may have been entitled to it, but if there was a vacant property that didn't have one, you might not get it. And then next year, when you apply, you're still technically not eligible because January 1st of 2021, it was the vacant seller. And then it's the following year, in 2023, when you're actually going to see it, because that's 2022 is when you're eligible, and that shows up in 2023. It is a bit wild. Now, that's the homeowners. Once you have that homestead exemption, if you're above the age of 65, that's the only requirement for the senior exemption. Then you can get an additional exemption over the age of 65. And the 65 is actually just if you turn 65 that year. It's not if you're 65 as of January 1st. It's just that calendar year you turn 65, you're entitled to the exemption the next year, assuming you have an existing homestead exemption. The final one is the senior freeze, which does have that income cap. And that's based on you having a homestead, being having the property as your homestead, being above the age of 65, and then the senior freeze has a household income limit of $65,000. So what that means is if your income from any and every source, Social Security, pensions, retirements, your job, is above $65,000 a year, you're not eligible for the freeze. The other thing is it's household income. So if you have an adult child living with you and working, their income is part of that. And so you have to combine it all to figure out. So you have to be below that $65,000 a year cap. And on top of that, the freeze itself doesn't actually offer a significant reduction. So it offers a small little reduction, but then what it does is it locks the assessed value in. So that assessed value then gets frozen and your tax rate can still change, and it will still change, but your tax rate is never going to change by 70% in 1 year. I say never, but don't hold me to that. But realistically, your tax rate's never going to change by a significant amount. It might go up or down a little. Every year it's going to happen. But your assessment, which again is the basis of your tax bill, and it's the largest part of your tax bill, is the number that gets frozen. And that is frozen for as long as you own the house and as long as you file every year and confirm that your income has remained below $65,000. And so that's the biggest thing. It is the senior freeze requires an annual application because there is an income limit, and so you have to confirm every year that you're still not making above the 65,000.
Ryan, I had a couple of questions about some other exemptions, if you don't mind me
Absolutely.
asking.
We're on exemptions right now.
Yes, yes. What about, I came across some long-time homeowners exemption?
Yeah, the long-time homestead exemption was an older exemption. They've actually kind of sunset that, so it's not really applicable anymore. That was an exemption they offered in Cook County, but I believe they sunset that as of 2015, if I'm correct.
What about home improvement exemption? Is that another one?
The home improvement exemption is a spectacular exemption to be aware of. It's also one of the weirdest exemptions because it happens when you typically pull a permit. You pull a permit, I'm going to put a second story on this house. You pull a permit, I'm going to add a basement or whatever, put a sunroom on or add 1,000 square feet to the house. And what the home improvement exemption does is it is, once that permit is finalized, instead of immediately adding a new valuation to your property and say, okay, your square foot just changed from 2,000 to 2,500 square feet on your house, or whatever the case may be, that home improvement exemption is a temporary exemption that essentially lets you it lets you be assessed as what you were prior for a couple years. It's about 4 years, I believe, and I think it may fade off and then slowly get you to where you're going to be going forward. But it does allow for a temporary reduction for home improvements, for major home improvements. This isn't for stuff like, upkeep, which is considered, remodeling, or, putting windows, roofs, floors, siding, that sort of stuff. This is for when you really change the characteristics of a house. The other one, go ahead.
No. So I can see, because, of course, I won't say what sellers are doing this, but a lot of times sellers won't get a permit to have work done to their home because they're trying to avoid their home being assessed at a higher value. So is this kind of an incentive to say, look, tell us what you're doing, we'll give you an exemption, so you don't, so you're not, just going nuts when you get your, when you get your tax bill?
Yeah, so that is, it really is. It's kind of an incentive to counter that. But the biggest thing, and I always tell people this, is especially in Cook County, the assessor is typically never going to care you pulled a permit for anything. Like, unless you add square footage and, again, change the facts of your house, I can't imagine a single permit the assessor can possibly care about. Like, you pull a permit for windows, siding, roof, all of them at the same time, it still is not going to impact your assessment. The assessor, again, is using mass data, and they assume people are going to replace their roof every 10, 20, 40 years based on the lifespan of a roof. And they have calculations and stuff for that. So the assessor, at least in Cook County, never really cares about the permits you pull. And that exemption is exactly that. It's an incentive to encourage people to pull permits for things that would impact the factual characteristics of their property, or in pulling permits in general, because you are 100% correct in that a lot of people do not pull permits for all sorts of things. The other exemption that I like to talk about is the veterans exemption. The veterans exemption there's a small exemption for returning veterans. So recently, any veteran who's recently served can get a small exemption. But the bigger one is if there's a veteran with a service-related disability, and in Cook County, or actually most of Illinois now, that can be up to a total property tax exemption for properties valued under, I think it's like $750,000, give or take. That number kind of fluctuates. There is a ceiling on it, but you can have a decent house if you have a service-related disability with no property taxes in Illinois. And that was something. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that was one of those things that got pushed through by like the old assessor and stuff like that. It took a long time to get through, and recently got enacted. And there's just a lot of people who they're not even aware of it.
Yeah. And I'm going to let your screen come back, but I've got, because I've got a lot of questions, and I'm sorry if I, ask a lot of questions, but if you have a veteran that lives, the veteran isn't on title, but they live in your home, and is there a way that you can get the exemption, if it can be applied to your property?
So that is a very good question. And the easiest way to do it is to just add them as an owner on title. It's the most clear-cut way, because the rule is if they own the property, they use it as their primary residence, or not necessarily own, but if they use the property as their primary residence and they are responsible for the tax bill, and then they're entitled to the exemption. And so those are the requirements, and the easiest way to meet that second one is put them on the deed, because if they're on title to the house, they are responsible for the property taxes. And if it's their primary residence, it's a great thing to do, because, like I said, there can be a $0 tax bill for that.
All right. So I am back. I'm starting to relax. It's almost 11 o'clock. But again, I don't give up. So if you guys are looking for a real estate broker who doesn't give up, and you know somebody who is buying and selling, or yourself, I am not a real estate broker that gives up. Okay, so anyway, the nugget to pull out of that is one: make sure you're getting your homeowner's exemption. A lot of times, our elderly, our seniors, are not getting the amount of exemptions that they're supposed to be getting. They deserve it. They should get it. Not only our seniors, but our veterans who have fought and gave their bodies to the point that they're disabled. That if they have a property that they own, or even if they're living with someone, the attorney said, if the cleanest way is to put them on your title, and that way you can begin to receive some of the benefits along with the person who is living in that property. And wasn't able to share that excerpt, but also to seniors. If you have seniors that are living with you, that your home is their residence, you should be able to take advantage of the senior exemption. So Ryan Schaefer is a great a contact. And so if you fall or know someone who is in that situation, please tell them they need to talk to, if not Ryan Schaefer, an attorney who specializes in tax appeals. Okay, with that said, now let me go back to something that I want to bring out. Matter of fact, it's so urgent that, let me see, I wanted to, gosh, it is so urgent that, oh no, let me open this up. It is so urgent that I'm calling this breaking news because of the most recent. I don't know what you heard, that I didn't. My voice wasn't in the scene, but in light of the most recent tragedy that happened in Surfside, with the Surfside condos in South Florida, I would put my license on it that there were signs that showed deficiencies in that building. It's just what happens is we just go on with our lives. We fight with those that we think care, and you try to get things, corrected and with the people. But obviously something tragically got overlooked. And in Surfside is just a huge example of what neglect can materialize. But there are so many people who are living in unsafe conditions, and I'm going to do a some talking, some information for landlords. There are grants out here that you can get to bring your building up to compliance. It is a certain specification that you can get these grants, but they're out there. And it was a couple of months ago. This representative was talking about, we're looking for landlords to apply for these loans. But anyway, I just want to point out, as I told you, my media guy and we are going out to different communities now, because my thing is, like I said earlier, you could find and get an idea about what your house is worth. You can do that. If anybody tells you you can't, they're just, I don't know, they're playing with themselves. But yes, you can. You don't need us to help you find a house. Yes, that's a part of what we do and we should support in you in any way, but what you need really from us is information that's going to help you make the right decision. And I stand by that, and I do all that I can within my power, to put all the cards on the table. And I'm just going to say this. It was shared to me that a particular buyer was getting she was getting, or he or they were getting an FHA loan. And the realtor told them, oh, you don't have to get a home inspection because the FHA appraiser will let you know the condition of the property. Absolutely not. An appraiser only tells you value. Now they'll look at safety issues. Obviously it has to be, you have to be able to occupy it, and they're going to make sure, certain things meet that requirement. But they're not gonna tell you the condition of the property. And when I heard that, I'm like, see, this is why you guys are falling out of love with us. But anyway, that's not my rant. My rant right now is my husband and I, who is my media guy. We were out videotaping the village of Riverdale, because that's going to be one of the communities that I want to talk about in terms of the opportunities there, and the homes and all that good stuff. But while we were out there, we were taking some videos of the trains, because there are people that spends lots of money on train watching. But as we were crossing the bridge, this is what we came across. This scared the hell out of me. It's like, wait a minute, what? And I got another picture. That's not the only one. Is this the other one? Oh, nope, that's not the other picture. I got another picture. There it is. Is that yeah. Yeah, there's the other picture. And I'm like, what? You see how big of a gaping hole this is? And you've got trucks, you've got buses, you've got cars that are traveling south and north of Halstead. It's a main thoroughway from people going from north to south to south to north. So if you know anybody that takes that route, caution them and let them know that this looks like some danger coming up. And I'm not saying that that the Illinois Department of Transportation is avoiding or not paying attention to it. What it is, we as concerned citizens, we need to send and write and contact the Illinois Department of Transportation. They do have their website. They do have a contact information. So if anybody, I'm gonna do it. And if you want those pictures from me, all you got to do is email me at dhaley@asagarealty.com. I'll be happy to send you the pictures. But I just had to, because of what's going on now, and I see people, just surviving, and just not really paying too close of attention to things that are going on around them, because they're just surviving. But you have to, for yourself and for the people that are living in the building with you or area with you. If you see something, you need to say something. I mean, in terms of conditions that people are living in, because I know I worked with landlords for a number of years, and you've got very good, responsible landlords, but you've got those who are just collecting money, and they just don't care. And so, with that, I'm going to stop ranting. It's coming to the end of my show. I do want to plug some things. Today is definitely a good day, I would say, to find your realtor or call your realtor. I can be reached. I know it's very low because I mean, the sign is low, but you can reach me at www.asagarealty.com. Again, that's www.asagarealty.com. I guess I don't have to say the www. It's late. And then my office number is 708-860-5700. Let's see. And you can follow me. Yes, you can follow me. You can follow me, Windy City. Oh, no, not Windy City, but Asaga Realty is kind of small too. But you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So I thank you for bearing with me, those who bared with me with my mistakes. I think it's time for me to sign off. So let me get the sign off. And I hope everybody is staying safe. And again, like I said, today is a good day to call your realtor. Everybody take care. Good night.